Hello everyone, it's Luke from Davis Quality Constructions back here again with another DIY sort of tutorial video of how I install a Goodneighbour long straight run of fence with a plinth. One of the most important things to take note of when you're installing a fence is you obviously want it to be in the right spot. So I always recommend getting your block surveyed. Once you get your block surveyed, you'll end up with pins like this. You'll also normally have a marker pin. This isn't the proper marker pin, but you see the pin there. So that is 100% the line of the boundary, that pin in the ground there. If you come over here, the other side. These pins here will tell you important things. That pin, so you never base it off of this one, there's always a pin below. But this thing here will tell you important things about this pin. Well, this one says on the line of the boundary, but 1 meter in. So that means it's on the line of the boundary this way, but this way it's 1 meter in because it's offset, because obviously they can't put a pin there, it'll be too hard to find. So now you want to set a string line along there, and we'll be back in a sec with the next steps on how to erect your fence. So what we're doing here is we're getting our string line to this side of the boundary, as you can see. So the fence is going to go there, and then we're measuring off. We know that then we're measuring off because the fence is actually going to go here. We don't want our string line that high. The land goes up here. The fence is only going to go here and then down to where that is, and then something else is going to sort of happen at the top there. But for now we're just going to get a line from there to there. So I've measured off the house, so I know the boundary line where the fence is going to go. It's going to go this side of this line, and it's going to go 1 meter off of the house. So now we're going to pin there, make sure the line's nice and straight and parallel with the house. We've just checked that the boundary is parallel with the house, and now we're ready to pin it parallel with the house. Once you've got your line set up where you want it, then you want to set your height. So with this one I'm doing a plinth, so I always set the top of the plinth with the slab. So then the plinth's going to go under that. Concrete's going to go about there. It's going to end up perfect. There's going to be no risk of any soil from here sitting on the fence, and then that should turn out nice with what they sort of do with this block. So I've got a laser level. Obviously if you didn't have a laser level, probably the best way to do it. I'd recommend hiring one. You can level off of get your spirit level and level it off of here into your pins. Do the same that way and go from there. But I've leveled it there, and then I'm going to put a texture mark on each side, and then get that string line set at that top height. And then after that we're going to start marking the holes. So for this particular fence, the client wants it to line up 100% in line with the front of the house. I'm just squaring it off the front of the house, and I'm just going to put my starting dot there. And that's where the first post is going to be situated. All the posts are going to go on this side of the line. I've already figured that out. Made sure my line is square with the house, which the boundary in this case was square with the house. It's more important that it's on the line of the boundary than square with the house, of course. We don't go off what anyone else has done. And then we've set the heights. Just recapping quickly. And now, there's two ways you can do this. You can actually get the rails or the tracks and then use those to spread your thing. But just as easy, I always like to add 20 mil when I mark my holes on, and the panel is 2350. So I mark my centers at 2370, which allows for a bit of creeping. And I'll just continue to mark all the holes at 2370 for the whole distance of the fence. Next step. So now that you've got all your holes marked, it's time to start digging these holes. I like to go with a 300 mil diameter hole. Some people go a bit smaller, but I know 300 mil. And then you want to go at least 600 mil in the ground. I always like to, for how I set my posts, I always like to leave at least 50 to 100 mil of concrete sort of under the post. That way, there's not going to be any sinking. How you dig your holes is completely up to you. couple factors that will come into play would obviously be site access, affordability, what you have access to. You can either use a post or digger. Right here we have a machine with an auger. That's what we'll be using, because this job, I obviously have a machine, and this job is quite straightforward access. Otherwise, you can go back to the good old Jesus, old school times way, and dig it with a crowbar and shovel. They will achieve the same goal. So that's what we're gonna do.
Oh yeah, that was good.
So once you've got all your post holes dug, what you're going to want to do is screw your posts together. What I would strongly advise that you do is look up the instruction guide for the particular Goodneighbour fence that you're going to be installing, because it's very crucial that above and beyond all that you do install your fence in accordance with the instruction manual of the brand. So if there is any issues down the track, it is within warranty. This is a Stratco fence that I'm installing today, and I've screwed my posts together. You obviously want to make sure they're in line this way and they're nice and flush at the end. And then what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to put a plinth under these, a 200mm plinth, I'm going to mark 2010 down on the inside of the post. I'm going to do that both sides, and then we like to use a 50x50 block. We screw that on that line, put a screw through that way, and then that's where the plinth's going to fit. That's where the plinth is going to finish. And then what we'll do on this side is mark down 1810. Square those with a square, and then the string line will line up with that. Plinth will go there. The sheets will be 1800, so we allow 1810, so there's 10mm of movement, and the fence will end up nice and straight. Plinth will end up nice and straight, and everything will kind of be slot into place after that. Once we set the post, we'll show you what it kind of looks like once we've done this, and then we'll go from there. And there we have it. So I've got all these in spot, and then we've got our 10mm square lines. Double check the heights of our string line, make sure it's in the right spot. Holes are nice and deep. Made sure all the holes are the correct depth. And now we're just waiting for the concrete truck. So what's going to happen is the 1810 mark is going to sit with that, which is the height of the viscourse, and the 200mm plinth is going to sit on that 50x50 that was screwed in there, and then the fence will go on top of that. Straight in the holes, as so. Now you fill them all up. So yeah, we had the concrete truck here. I have went and set a few because the concrete is pretty warm day, so I didn't want the concrete to go off. So yeah, I set a few posts, but what you're going to want to do is use your truck as the spacer, because that's obviously what's going to be going in here. You want to gently slide your track into your first post. Obviously the first post, when you start, you're just going to set it where you want your fence to start. A lot of the time it might be on the end of the boundary or whatever, so yeah, it's good if it's a solid point, makes it a bit easier. Then you want to grab your post, and the line that you've drawn, you're obviously going to want facing your string line. And then you slide it in gently like that. Check that it's pretty level that way, maybe slide in a little bit. Check that it's pretty level that way. you want to make sure that you're not faulting your string line. So you always want to be about 5 or 10 millimeters off the string line. It's very important, otherwise every post will just fold it. Once you've got your position, you can just kind of sink it in there, as so. Move your track out of the way of your spacer, put it on top so it keeps its sort of position. And then just slide it very nicely in, and then come over here. So that's level with the line, so you can keep it like 100% level with the line, or you can just go, I just like to go a little bit more, a little bit down, and then I can make sure they're all 100% sort of spot on at the end, and lift them up a little bit if I need. It's definitely easier to lift them up than try and knock them down. But if you come over here, you see that's spot on level that way. Spot on level that way. And then you just continue on for all the posts, do every single post, keep sliding them in. You want to make sure when you get your concrete delivered that it is pretty wet. Because if it starts to go off, you got to sort of put some water in there and mix it up, and it's a bit of a pain. So setting the post is the hardest bit. Once you set the post, then it'll just kind of click together, but I'll show you how that's all done. And then once it starts to go off, you just want to double check to make sure they're all spot on with that line. Once they're all a bit off as well and they're not really going anywhere, just like to eye it up with the top, make sure they're all perfectly in line, which they are. And then that's the post set. You got to wait for the concrete to go off for 24 hours. Always recommended. And you know you're gonna have a nice solid fence for many years to come. All right, we're here the next day after we've let the post go off overnight. One of the neighbours. And now we're about to install the underneath fence plinth. Just going to put these up this morning. So there is one side that has a smooth side, one side that has a rough side. So the first goal will be to discover which neighbour you want the smooth side and the rough side, depending on who's going to be holding back more soil, what side's going to be more visible. Normally these are a 2-person lift, but for the purpose of this activity, I'm going to lift them by myself so I can show you exactly sort of how you want to put them in. So they're not too bad. They're 60 kilos, so they are a 1-person lift if you feel comfortable. So these 50 by 50s that we're sort of put under our fence, as we've put the fence posts in, that's where they're going to come in play now. So you want to make sure with the Goodneighbour fence that you put everything on an angle, as so, and be careful to sort of just slot that in, as so, and then maybe use your boot. Now it just sits on the 50 by 50s. Alright, that one sits on the screw. Perfect. As so. Now as you can see, all the plinths are in. Just on the angle. Just get in like that. So this is where you get them laid out all as so. Leaving the first panel. And you just want to make sure it's right on the lip, not hitting any piles. So it's on that bit and that bit, which is going to get covered. And then you're ready to go. I'll just show that again. So it just kind of sits there in the lip. But if it is a windy day, you might need a mate to sort of hand you the sheets and you hold the sheets, or if it's your first time. But yeah, we just kind of hold there in the lip for the first sheet. And then once you kind of get your second sheet, you do have the risk of it all falling over, so I'll just use my little step ladder. Always just try to lay it back towards you. Same thing with the angle. Sort of manipulate it with your finger. so you just gotta make sure it's in place right. And easy as that. All screwed off. You just want to make sure these are slightly higher than the thing, in case anyone jumps it, it'll be liable. All screwed off nicely, and as you can see, you just put a screw in the bottom, both sides, and you keep the tracks just above the post, so there's no cutting hazards. That's another one done.